Welcome to America's Heroes Group, our Roundtable community outreach. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 2023. We're here with the Illinois Army National Guard. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have a panelist with us, HBrook J.R. Miller Jr. He's a sergeant first class in the Illinois Army National Guard. Our panelist is a college career advisor and a recruiter at the University of Illinois campus. We're going to talk about Chicago's own Army ROTC Fire Battalion. And also we have our host from the University of Illinois at Chicago, the 3rd ROTC Brigade of the United States Cadet Command. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank God. Thank God you're here with us. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
So tell us about the ROTC Cadet Fire. What is that all about?
So basically, the ROTC program in itself, when you're in college, is a officer training program that it starts off as a way for a college student to get some leadership, to be around like-minded individuals while they're on campus, and they'll have like basic student responsibilities while being in college. They're in ROTC, so we're kind of teaching them leadership skills, how we do things in the military that will help them while they're in college with their studies. That's how the program initially starts. And that'll be what it is for the first 2 years of the program, if they're in the program, so their freshman and sophomore year. But once they become a junior, they have a decision to make to think, is this something that they actually want to do or pursue after college? And what I mean by that is that if you stay in the ROTC program for 4 years, you will commission as a second lieutenant, which is an officer, and one of the 3 branches of your choosing, which will be the Army National Guard, Army Reserves, or the active Army. So you can even go on active duty, or you can stay as a reservist in the Army Reserve, or you can also stay as a reservist in the Army National Guard. So initially, it starts off as, a program that you can try out and see if you like it, and if you think that this is something that you can do. But at the end, you can actually make a big impact and become one of our newest leaders in the armed forces.
So tell us a day in the life of an ROTC candidate or cadet. What do they do on a typical daily day basis? Are they taking this individual classes, or is there things that are going on after school?
Yeah, so it'll be a conjunction of different things. So initially, it's a class once a week, and it's they'll do an actual classroom. They have classroom time once a week, and then they'll have an actual activity, which is normally in the mornings on Thursdays, which is what we call a lead lab. So we give them basic instructions, or depending on whatever the instruction is that we're teaching, we'll give them those classes, and then they'll execute those strategies and implement the things that we've taught them during the lead lab once a week. So initially you go to class once a week, and then you have what we call a lead lab, where that's more of a practical day. It's more of it's a lab. So they actually implementing the things that they're taught. Along with that, they're to do PT about 3 or 4 times a week in the morning, right? Depending on the weather and depending on different events that they have going on, but primarily 3 or 4 days a week, they're actually, you'll get up and do morning PT. So you'll do morning PT, get done with that, go to your regular classes and, live your life as a college student. And then you'll have a class once a week, and then you'll have a lead lab once a week as well. So that's typically how it starts.
Do a lot of the kids in the ROTC in college, do they come from junior ROTC programs often in high school?
Oftentimes they do, but they're 2 totally different. Even though they sound alike and they appear alike, they're actually they have differences, because the JROTC program is a citizenship program, just making people better students, better citizens in their everyday lives, where the ROTC program at the end of it could have potentially a military obligation at the end. But we do have people that came from JROTC into ROTC. That's one of the reasons why they're so attracted to it, because it's familiar grounds for them.
And who's the ideal student or the ideal cadet?
Honestly, it can be anyone. I mean, it's anyone that, because initially you're trying this program out. So we don't really get into the terms of the qualifications to be in the military. We just expect you to come in and be a regular student. I have cadets that plan on going to med school, plan on going to law school. They're not just thinking about, going on active duty and, being in the military their whole entire lives. They have aspirations to do other things with their careers. So, and this is just one way that they're selecting to give them some leadership ability and some financial support at the same time.
So speak to that, the financial support. How does the ROTC help with college tuition and all the expenses that go along with college?
So we have a ton of different financial programs that can help anyone help anyone when they come into the ROTC program. I mean, just to give you a couple of the names, we have the Guaranteed Reserve Forces Duty Scholarship. We have what we call a line scholarship, which obligates a person if they want to compete to go active duty. We have the Minuteman Scholarship, and we also have what we call the ISTW event, and that's something that we actually have coming up next Saturday, March 11th, is our ISTW event. This is basically an Illinois State tuition waiver, a 1-year waiver that we're awarding those who come to USC this coming Saturday, March 11th. They perform a physical fitness test. They have an interview with one of the cadre members there, and we will select so many students that show up and award them 1-year scholarships to try out the program. There's no obligation to join the military. We're just asking them to do the 3 things I just mentioned previously: come to class, come to PT, and do the lead lab. And then you can actually compete for this program every year that you're in the program, but it's awarded 1 year at a time. So March 11th is a day where we're inviting any high school senior from all across Illinois actually to come participate. UIC is the hosting university that's doing it, and we do these across the state, but this is the one we're doing. But all you have to do is have an acceptance letter to attend a college that has an ROTC program. So an example, if a person wants to go to University of Illinois, Chicago, or Eastern, Northern, Western, Chicago State, Southern Illinois, Illinois State University, U of I, and Champaign, if you're going to any one of those schools or you want to go and you have an acceptance letter, then you'll bring that with you. And all of those schools have ROTC programs. So as long as you don't necessarily have to come to UIC, but as long as you have an acceptance letter at one of those universities, you can come and you can try out. And we'll have representatives from those institutions I just mentioned to actually talk to you to answer any questions you may have about the school itself.
And one of the things I noticed you mentioned in some of the information about ROTC programs here in Illinois and at the Chicago campuses and UIC and other places is that diversity was a core tenet of what you're after. Tell us about the diversity component and what is your goal in terms of diversity?
So, first off, UIC has one of the most diverse ROTC programs in the state. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on. And what we want to do is give those an opportunity to attend college if they have no other means to do so. We understand that we have people that come from single family homes, or they've applied for financial aid and they're just not getting enough to actually allow them to attend school without the worrisome of, the financial obligation that comes behind it. And what we don't want is for people to take out massive student loans and tie themselves in these financial obligations before they even give themselves an opportunity to pay them in years to come. So we're highly encouraging everyone to come out, not just to this March 11th event, but to come talk to us, even outside of that. And I'll leave our contact information at the end. But we're pushing for diversity because this is who we are. You know, especially in Chicago, we have an initiative that we call the Chicago Zone, and it's basically explaining how we want to take Chicago residents, Chicago students that's come out of high school. We want them to get into some institution, some educational background. You know, if they choose to join the military, that's awesome. And if they choose to join the ROTC program and become officers, we're returning that same student back to the community to do great things, right? We want them to progress in their, not just in a military career, but in their professional lives at the same time. And that's one of the benefits by joining reserve components and being in college. You can have the opportunity to build that military career and build a civilian career at the same exact time. So that'll make you that much more marketable in the economy. So that's kind of what we're looking for as far as diversity. I mean, we have so many students from different cultures in our program. You know, and they represent all of the different towns in Chicago. You know, it's a pretty awesome thing to experience.
So one of the things you mentioned, going back to the student benefits and student financial aid, things like that, one thing that I always like to bring up when we talk about college for students is that a lot of people aren't aware that if you go to the Illinois National Guard and any National Guard pretty much across the country, you can get your total tuition. If it's a state school you're going to, all your tuition is paid 100%, which I think is a very powerful thing. So you can be, that's what happened when I was in the National Guard. I went to a private school, so I didn't qualify for that program, but if you go to any state public school, you can get 100% tuition paid. And there's a GI Bill and other things like that. So if you can join the National Guard or join the reserve components, get educational benefits there, and still be in the ROTC programs.
Yes,
right?
And the benefit, and that's absolutely correct. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the benefit of doing both programs at the same exact time is that, like I mentioned earlier, I have students that's going to med school, that's going to law school. They have other aspirations outside of a bachelor's degree. Well, the benefit of having the National Guard scholarship is that our scholarship covers you all the way up to a PhD. Like you said, as long as we're going to a state-funded school in the state of Illinois, we'll cover you all the way up to a PhD, depending on when you start using that scholarship. So as an example, let's say you come and you get awarded that one-year scholarship, and that'll be your first year of college taken care of, and then you compete for it the very next year. Okay, you're in the National Guard. Like, you decided to join the National Guard, but you still went out for the tryout. You got the ISCW scholarship the first year, you got it the second year, and then you say, you know what, I want to stay in this program, and I want to start using my National Guard grant at this time. So now you're only using 2 out of those 4 years of your National Guard scholarship to take care of that bachelor's degree, and you got 2 years left over to use towards a master's degree if that's how far you want to go. Or like we was just discussing, we have other scholarships inside the ROTC program, such as like the Minuteman, the GRFD, and the dedicated scholarship, and a line scholarship that can also give you a scholarship all the way up to your bachelor's degree. And you can actually hold that National Guard grant until you decide to actually use it. I have students in our program right now that are in the National Guard that's going to med school, and they already got it paid for.
Wow.
They've been awarded a scholarship inside ROTC, and they already have joined the National Guard, so they got that scholarship as well. So they basically have about 8 or 9 years of school already paid for, and now that all that they have to do is just implement. They just have to go out here and do it. The finances are taken care of. They just have to do their part, stay diligent, stay consistent, and just be motivated to push this thing through. But they basically can go through school debt-free if they choose to do so.
And I think that's so powerful, because a lot of people have the idea that if they join an ROTC program that they have to go into the military. They have to be ready to be deployed as soon as they graduate from college. But the reality is that a lot of people that do the ROTC don't even go through the military. They just want that experience. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. Now, is how well does ROTC, because I was never in an ROTC program, but I was in the National Guard during college. Mm-hmm. How well does ROTC prepare you for the military?
It prepares you a lot. It's pretty top notch. about 60 to, and I don't have the exact percentage right now because it always changes throughout the year. I mean, every year, but about 60 to 70% of all officers in the military come out of an ROTC program, right? So if you think about all the officers that are in the Army Reserve, Army National Guard, or even in the active component, they all have attended an ROTC or an academy like West Point or something like that to actually, before they even serve. So majority of the officers come out of the ROTC program. So that tells you a little bit how good the program actually is. But if you actually make this obligation to stay in the program, then there's a little bit more obligation that you'll start doing. You'll start competing in different types of competitions that's military oriented, like ruck marches. You can go to airborne school, air assault school. You can go to military schools while being in ROTC. You know, during each semester, we have what we call field training exercises. It's a FTX. So that's pretty much a buildup of everything you've learned that semester. All of those lead labs that you've learned, you're going to start implementing those things 1 week at a military installation, and we're going to send you through, depending on your level, we're going to send you through a series of exercises and team building strategies and activities that will see if you actually learn what you need to learn in order to move to the next level.
I wish I knew that when I was in college. That would have been, that would have been nice to go to airborne school or to go to like air assault school while you're actually in college and not have to do it while you're after you get out of basic or AIT. That would be amazing.
I have cadets that got wings.
Wow.
You know, they're pretty awesome. I mean, they really, you know, ROTC is what you make of it. You know, it's one of those things where if you just wanted to you know, get a little bit of experience, help yourself with some leadership, public speaking, and teamwork, things that you need to know how to do whether you're in the military or not, ROTC is a great place to be because we're going to give you those opportunities to show your leadership ability. And if you don't have it, that's cool. We'll give it to you. We'll teach it to you. We'll show you. And it is a cadet. It is a student-led program, so they're going to teach each other. We have the seniors teaching the juniors and working that way on down. So, you know, if you don't have to have these, you know, immaculate qualities to even participate. You can come as you are, and then we'll find a place for you. And then, you know, based off of how you perform is how you'll go to the next level. But yeah, it's an awesome opportunity. I mean, and once you make that obligation to stay in the program, then now you got these 30-day summer camps that you have to attend in order to commission to be an officer. So we just keep taking, you know, you step by step throughout the process until your senior year and you actually graduate and you are a full-fledged soldier. So, you know, you basically got 4 years of just learning what it takes to be an officer and a soldier in the military. Very different from when a person goes to basic training.
Right there,
they get it through a fire hose.
Sergeant, I got to cut you off. Okay. Right on out of time. HBrook J. Miller Jr., Sergeant for class in the Illinois Army National Guard. He's our panelist today. He's a college career advisor and a recruiter at the University of Illinois campus. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, our roundtable with our sponsor and partner, RHF Ninja Warrior Competition. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 2023. March is Women's History Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scott's Honor Productions. And also shout out to Leah Kaya doing all things technical in the studio today. Our partner, Darren Jeffrey, is on the line. He's a founding board member of RHF and also the original course creator builder for the TV show American Ninja Warrior, which airs on NBC. Our panelist is Sam Barnett. He is a retired U.S. Army Sergeant Major with 25 years of active duty in Special Forces, more than 12 combat deployments, RHF co-founder, former president, and currently an RHF board member, and his wife, Kathy Barnett, a military wife, of course, mother, grandmother, women's mentor, and author of Warrior's Bride, Biblical Strategies to Help Military Spouse Thrive. RHF co-family founder also. Discussion today is military families, and this is a couple with 9 kids, so I want to get to that. So how you doing, Darren? What's going on today?
Oh, Sean, great to hear your voice. Thank you. It's again an honor. We're wonderful out here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's actually sunny and warm. So, yes.
So you brought a couple with us again today, and they're going to talk about some important stuff, which we always get down to. We like to talk about military families, and also particularly when it comes to raising a military family. That's so important and such a big issue in the military communities, particularly if you're currently a service member. But even after you get out of the military, the transition part of it is also a challenge a lot of times. So Sam and Kathy, I'm glad to have you guys on the show.
Hey, Sean, this is Sam. That's great to be here with you and Darren as well.
So our pleasure is all ours. Kathy?
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
So, Darren, before we get into your guest you brought with us today, tell us a little bit what's going on with RHF nowadays. What's on the hot plate right now?
Oh, we on the hot plate. Our facility is open 24 or 7 days a week, not 24/7, but 7 days a week. So we're running programs out at Rick's Place, weekend programs. And then the park's open for the families to come out and use the park, the tree houses and all that midweek. And then we do have a shooting event coming up soon. I think, Sam, you may even have some details on that I don't have in front of me. We have a shooting event, which is a fundraiser, and we obviously have some great connections with some great shooters. And so it's a great chance for people to fly in and get a gun behind them and get some instruction, next to them. So that's kind of on our front burner right now.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. Sam, you can tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think the details for that shooting event are being worked out at this moment. But I would second what Darren says. We want folks to come out, have a great time, get down behind some guns, and just just have a good time with the folks that will be out there and receive some good, solid, safe instruction about how to handle a pistol, a rifle. So as those details emerge, we'll get those posted in the appropriate place. But I would invite everybody to kind of look at the RHF Now website for the details as those come up.
So, Kathy and Sam, I'm going to talk to you for a second about your life, because you have a lot to teach us and a lot to share with us about how to properly really embrace the military family role, because a lot of us have to deal with that. A lot of us have gone through that process. So tell us, first of all, how did your careers begin? What were you doing before you met? What were your careers before you met actually and started to raise a family?
I'll jump on that one first, and I think this might come to as a surprise to a lot of people, and Kath and I get a lot of different reactions here. But careers before we met were not a thing. I met that young lady walking into driver's education when I was 16 and she was 15. Wow. We were both in high school, and I think I had a pretty lucrative career at the time going on as a food stocker at the local grocery store.
Wow.
It's true.
So, Kathy, what can you add to that? So what was your first impression when you met Sam?
Well, I will tell you from the beginning, when he first asked me out on our very first date, when we were just teenagers, he laid out his plan for his future for me. I remember asking him, so what do you want to do, when we're done with high school? What are your plans? We were really just getting to know each other on our first date. And I remember him saying, well, I want to go into the military. I have an idea of having a career within the military. And I had no idea what that would look like or how that would look. And I remember my first thought being, well, this will probably be our last date because I didn't think I wanted to hitch my wagon to that.
Wow. So tell us about the process of raising of 9 kids, because you had 9 kids who were in the military. What was that experience like? A brief overview. I know, Sam, you were deployed more than 12 times.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I think you can. I'm going to turn that question over for Kath for a lot of the details there, but I will tell you, that was a lot of prayer, a lot of God's grace there, and a lot of deployments. A lot of folks asked me specifically, how did we pull that off? And the one thing I can tell you is, I routinely say this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I met the best woman that I've ever even heard of, and I tried my best, and I won her heart, and we've been married for 30-something years. So, Kath, I guess from your perspective, what was it like raising a lot of kids with me gone so much?
Well, it was difficult at times. That's probably an understatement. It was in many ways almost as if Sam and I led parallel lives for a number of years. In the beginning, we were together more. He was very busy going through a lot of different schools, getting his different trainings and whatnot. And we just started having children right away. I graduated from college and tried to start a career, but babies just kept coming. And so ended up coming home by the time I was pregnant with our third child. And Sam was just gone a lot. And so it became almost necessary. It almost became cost effective for me to be home as opposed to paying for childcare for more and more and more children. So I came home to have children and began homeschooling because I was a teacher. That was what my education was for. And so I came home, decided I would homeschool a couple of years until we were done having children. Little did I know how many children were going to actually appear through the years. And so it just began with both of us just trying to, I honestly think, just keeping our heads above water for a while. In those early years, we just kept having baby after baby and deployment after deployment, and you just kind of keep going. It was difficult, to say the least, but I learned the best way for me to get through all of that time alone without him was really, truly to find others that were going through the same thing. Community became really my right and left arm at times to really support me, guide us, keep us able to just get through the hard things when I needed sitters, when he was away, when kids were sick, and when I had babies and he took off and I needed help with meals. It was finding other women that were just like me that needed support, and I needed support, and so we found each other. And I can't stress enough just how important community became. I know Sam and I, our faith was very important to us both as well, and that not only allowed us each to do our individual portions of what we felt like the Lord was calling us to do. For Sam, it was to go and go to war often. And then for me, it was to stay back and kind of keep raising a family and just keep our eyes fixed on the purpose of what we were doing, the good of what we were doing, and that not everybody could do it. And kind of coming to that realization that it was really kind of a high calling, empowered and encouraged us, I think, to continue forward. And again, I can't stress enough how important community became, just finding others that could help us navigate just the day-to-day often that was done so far apart.
Sam and Kathy, I gotta give you credit and also thank you for your service, because that is not an easy task to raise 9 kids, to grow together as a family, and then on top of that, going through some of the most difficult wars in our global history. You got the Iraq War, you got going on, you got the Afghan War going on, and you're a combat veteran on top of that. So, Kathy, tell us about your book, Warrior's Bride, Biblical Strategies to Help the Military Spouse Thrive. How did you come up with this book, and what is this about, and what is this going to teach us?
Well, the Lord gave me the idea for this book, and Sam gave me the idea for the book. He came home from a deployment at one point, and I remember him looking at me and saying, "Babe, someday you're going to have to write down everything you've learned, and you really have learned to do this well." And I didn't feel like I had learned to do it well. I felt like I was, like I said a moment ago, sometimes just barely keeping my head above water. But he really encouraged me. He constantly encouraged me to press into the good of what we were doing, and reminded me there was purpose. And I think I did the same for him, because he too would get frustrated and wonder, why are we doing all this sometimes? But we did know that this country was worth fighting for, our families were worth fighting for, freedom was worth fighting for. And the sacrifice that he made going to fight, I felt like was equally made by our kids and myself as well, and by all military families. And so as I learned to navigate those years, just more and more, just really felt like that needed to be put down. I ended up co-authoring the book with a very dear friend named Kelley. Shout out to her. She's actually an author of multiple books, but she is a U.S. Air Force wife, military. He was, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. He was medically retired from the U.S. Air Force. Okay. And we co-authored the book together. She was a part of that community I was talking about. She was one of the many wives that came alongside me, and I came up alongside her, and the two of us together started a ministry where we were able to kind of come alongside a lot of women that found themselves in similar positions to us. So we just started penning after ministering to, just hundreds of women, literally, realizing that we just need to offer help. We need to offer practical help to these gals, especially the young ones that were just getting started and felt so overwhelmed about just how do you surrender your life ultimately to the U.S. government. And for us, it was surrendering our life really to the Lord and trusting that the place that we were called was intentional and was purposeful. And so really just wrapping your head around that and posturing yourself in a way that you could receive the blessing that came from this life rather than focusing on all of the hardships, because there's so much joy that can come from being a part of the United States military community. It's just a very unique family that there's great joy to be found in.
Kathy, I want to ask you this, because you mentioned about faith and how important that was to get you through and help you grow as an individual and also as a family, especially through a difficult situation, being in a military family, being a military wife. Did you have that faith before you got married, and did it develop stronger, or was it something that you already had a strong foundation in? How did your faith grow through those challenges?
Well, it definitely grew. I know I am a Christian, so I had a relationship with Jesus Christ prior to marrying Sam. But we were young. You have to realize Sam and I were 18 and 19 years old when we got married, had our first baby when we were 20, and we were both 20. It was 3 days before Sam's 21st birthday. And we were babies. I feel like now looking back, we were babies having babies, but we weren't. We were adults and we were plugging in, but there was so much we didn't know that we thought we knew. Like most people that are 18 to 20 years old, they think they know everything. And then we realized very quickly how much we did not know. And as we journeyed together in life, we both realized if we don't have something bigger than ourselves to look to, we realized very quickly our love was important, and we did love one another, but it really wasn't going to be enough to hold us together. We really felt like there's got to be something bigger that we can anchor ourselves to. And both Sam and I love the Lord Jesus Christ, and so we anchored ourselves to him, and he has kept us intact. Honestly, at times when I think we could have and would have possibly sunk, he has kept us together and kept us floating in some really harsh storms. It is not easy to have any children, but to have 9 children, and that was tough. That was tough.
I appreciate your honesty, and I think that's so important for people to hear, because oftentimes people look at people that have done and accomplished what you've accomplished. I mean, you have a great military career, Sam. You wrote a book, Kathy. But sometimes we have to understand that everybody's human, and then we all come from different places. So, but you started from one place and grew into another place. You grew a family and grew success. So, how do you have handle that work-life balance today? What is that like today? And that's for Sam.
Yeah, so I will tell you, I get asked a lot about work-life balance as Kathy and I kind of grew and matured together, and as the kids came along. I need everybody to understand maybe. Kat's given you a bit of our story, how many years we've been married, but, we now have a 30-year-old son. We've got 7 grandchildren, 1 on the way. And so now work-life balance, when we're in the thick of it, in the thick of, what was then the global war on terror after September 11th, that was a lot different. I think, somebody was asking me not too many days ago, what was the work-life balance like then? And I will tell you there wasn't a whole lot of work-life balance that we could really carve out. And I'll point to I'll fast forward from then to now, and it's why we're so thankful for Rick's place, for the Rick Harriman Foundation, and the vision that Josh had as he stood RHF up. But work-life balance now, I will tell you, is a lot easier. Kath and I have both chosen. We're very deliberate about carving some time out for each other, carving some time out, just for each of us to have separately. That's a little easier to do now. I mean, we still have some kids at home. We still have 3 to 4 kids at home at any given time that are still here under our roof. We're not done homeschooling. But I've transitioned on to a job as a contractor for the U.S. government. So it's a little easier now that the deployments aren't constantly coming and going. How that goes. A lot of people do know how that goes, but a little easier now to carve out that time for ourselves and then for each other. And so we have to be very deliberate and intentional about that. Does that make sense, Sean?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then you were also a close friend of Rick Harriman, and when he passed, tell us about, give us an idea about who Rick Harriman was, what his life was like, what it was like being his friend, and how that brought you to RHF.
Sure. So Rick Harriman, I knew Rick for a number of months. We were in a very high-performing unit, and I got to see Rick process through kind of the selection process of that unit. And I remember seeing him off in the distance as he was working his way through that. He was a top performer. I will tell you, I got to see him physically perform during those events, going through the selection process there. And then he became my friend. I was actually his team leader and I was his team leader the day that he was killed on April 25th of 2006. I will tell you, huge heart, salt of the earth, wonderful person. Way more of a people person than I ever was or probably ever will be. Able to great sense of humor, able to make us all laugh. Also able to, when it came down to it, just perform at another level. And that in the conditions that we were living in at the time and the things that we were called to do, the things that we had to do. I was so happy to have Rick right beside me in the days and the months that we were together. Certainly blessed to have known him as a friend. And then I will tell you, man, from the bottom of my heart, certainly blessed to know the Harriman family and then to call them friends as well. Both Dick and Mary, his mom and dad, Kate and Jane, his sisters, just great people, solid family. Love those folks with all my heart and would do anything for them. And it's easy to see where Rick got all of those character traits that he had after I got an opportunity to know his family when I got back from the deployment in 2006.
Then, so how did that lead you to the foundation? When did you come up with that idea, and how did you become a co-founder with your wife? How did that all shape up? Tell us about that, Sam.
Sure. There was another person here that figures in really heavily to the story. One of my best friends now, his name's Josh Ware. Josh and Angelina Ware. Josh was actually Rick's best friend, unbeknownst to me. So Rick and Josh had done a lot of things in the military together. They were best friends here at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Had a great life going together before Rick came over to the unit that I was in. And I had never really met Josh up until after Rick was killed in Iraq. I then became acquainted with Josh through fellowship with the Harriman family, as well as fellowship with got introduced with him as a brother in Christ as we were going through Manna Church. And it was actually Josh's idea to start Rick's Place. So Rick's Place, that facility, the grounds that we have here near Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for military families to just come out and unwind, Josh had that whole vision. And to be candid with you, when he first spoke to me about it, Kath and I went over to his house, and we kind of sat down, and I watched that guy. He's an incredibly talented individual with a huge call in his life. I watched that guy eat, I think about a dozen chocolate chip cookies and drink a glass of milk. Could still outperform me physically to this day. Kind of lay all that out, and I will tell you, it was just much bigger an idea than I would have had. But I certainly, it caught my heart. Very much appreciated what Josh had in mind. He had purchased about 25 acres, the first 25 acres that would become Rick's Place later on, and then. I got involved with that, still going on deployments. And I'll be candid with you, there early on, Kathy was more involved with that. And she would go out there and she would cut the grass and she would do a lot of the groundskeeping. So we were in at kind of the grassroots level with just a few core other families getting things up and running. And then over the years, we were able to, tell the story of Rick's Place, tell the story of the military family, to some key people like Darren Jeffrey, get him on the board very early on so that he understood, hey, this is what we are. This is what we're trying to do. This is going to be the culture of the Harriman Foundation overall. And this is what we're trying to achieve, to try to minister to those military families who are going through the crucible of a military career with kids and everything else going on in life. We want to give them a place to be able to come in, de-stress, link shoulder to shoulder with other military families, get to know each other better, have a stage where they could be involved with one another. They could grow their relationships on the backdrop of just a beautiful place here in the neighborhoods in North Carolina. So, that kind of vision caught my heart, and I think it catches a lot of people's heart because they have an understanding that this is not an easy lifestyle that our military veterans have had over the past few decades. There's a lot of us still going through that, and I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. I think we owe them the opportunity to have something like Rick's Place easily accessible.
I appreciate that, Sergeant. I think that's a great comment you made. I mean, because yes, our military family members, and particularly combat people that have been deployed, we need places to go to have fun and kind of let your hair down. Kathy, how do you have fun at Rick's Place?
Well, Sam mentioned I've cut a lot of grass out there, and believe it or not, grass cutting is therapeutic at times for me. Anyway,
you're the first person to ever say that. I think in military history.
No, I do. I tell you what, it is a beautiful place to go. When I first stepped out there on the property, I met Angelina Ware on the property, and one of the first things I saw, because it was really just a blank canvas landscape of grounds that they were overrun and briary, and it literally just needed cleaned up and hacked down and ready. And all I could see there were these giant trees. And I went home and I told Sam, I said, the very first thing we have to do is hang a swing out there for the kids from one of those trees. I said, and we need to build a picnic table. And those were the very first things that we did. And just to have a place where somebody could go with their kids and swing and play and throw a Frisbee and have a picnic and literally in the middle of a city, we have now over 50 acres out there at this point, and there are red-tailed hawks that fly. I've seen a fox on the property and rabbits and beautiful animals that. It's really just an amazing place to go with your kids and let them get dirty, let them play, and just let them run. And as a family, in those moments when you are trying to reintegrate post-deployment, it is so important to have space to just go. That doesn't cost money, that's not far away, that you don't have to do a huge planning for. You can just load up your family and go and enjoy being together outside. It is incredibly healing for families.
Kathy and
really
Sam Barnett, appreciate your time. You gave us a lot of information. And also, we definitely get out to Rick's place. I got to see you out there one day. And also, when I got really interested in this shooting contest coming up, a shooting event coming up. Darren Jeffrey is a founding board member of RHF and also the original course creator and builder for the TV show American Ninja Warrior, which airs on NBC. And he brought us two great people, husband and wife, Sam Barnett and Kathy Barnett. Military families. This is all about. America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
We have in our chase bags, we have a care package of hygiene, we have shaving equipment, we have razors, and for the women we have the same personal hygiene items for them as well. And we want to say thank you for their service. This is Chase Bank. Thank you very much. People in the neighborhood, free haircuts, the service, the food. Look good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you,
Okay. On behalf of Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, we sincerely thank Chase Bank for coming where it matters to help homeless veterans have a hot meal today and a care package. We are sincerely grateful for this partnership. Yes.
Welcome to America's Heroes Group. Hear your voice where we connect the disconnected intentionally.
Who is Cliff Kelley, the governor of talk radio, the icon of radio throughout the world.
Chauncey Spencer II and I, again, share a special relationship. His late great father, Tuskegee Airman Chauncey E. Spencer, took me as a child on my first airplane ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is something that people need to see. Often we don't, do the things to show how great our people are. It changes the paradigm of how people think about us, about the collective consciousness of what it means to be us.
And we've been having great conversations about trying to get more African Americans into aviation. And we got a bill that we're trying to get passed that would allow the Pell Grant to be used to help finance aviation education.
This is where I started with this entire conversation by saying, if it were not for America's Heroes Group, I would have given up. So I want to get all my accolades out the way on behalf of America's Heroes Group. Ms. Glenda, thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to press on. I would encourage you all to support this organization. One thing for sure, America's Hero Group is out there. Ms. Glenda will take the time. Ms. Glenda Smith will take the time to listen to you and to steer you in the direction that you need to go.
Thank you for watching another episode of America's Heroes Group, where we provide education about resources and information for our veterans, military, and their family.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, our series called We Are Globally Connected, our roundtable discussion with military family matters with our partner, family caregiver Keisha L. Jackson. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 2023. March is Women History Month. And our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host, Army National Guard veteran. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. And of course, Kaya is our audio engineer today. Our partner, Keisha, is on the line. She's a U.S. Air Force veteran and family caregiver. Our panelist is Joshua Esnard. He's the founder and CEO of the Cut Buddy. And I'm going to tell you all about the Cut. Jason Battle is a CFO and president of the Cut Buddy. We're going to talk about the Cut Buddies. What are we talking about today, Keisha?
Hey there, Sean. I am excited to bring these two panelists on today to talk about Cut Buddy. To do that, I definitely want to mention that today, or yesterday, I should say, I have to give a shout out to all of the caregivers out there. So yesterday on March the 3rd was Caregiver Appreciation Day, and it's because you know that it's my heart, it is dear to me. I just want to say to all professional and personal caregivers out there, happy Appreciation Day. Now let me switch over to Joshua and to Jason. I'm really excited about this. You know, a lot of times when I come, I talk a little bit about when I was caring for my mom. After I was caring for my mom, I started going to conferences and learning about resources that were out there, but people of color in particular and men were not there to learn about those resources. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of those topics. I was able to be introduced to these two gentlemen through a entrepreneurship, right? Startup entrepreneurship. And I learned about their product, and because I think this is something great that is good for caregivers in particular. When I was caring for my brother, trying to cut his hair at times, he had was just. And
before you kind of give it away, let me give a little brief introduction because people are probably wondering what the Cut Buddy is all about. The Cut Buddy makes innovative tools to make haircuts and shaving easier for all users. Proceeds are donated to the veterans programs and initiatives from sales from the Cut Buddy, the profits. So tell us, once again, back into your story, because that's one of the things we want to talk about, how important this is for caregivers, being able to help somebody or groom someone.
Yeah, very important. After my mother, I was caring for my mother who had inoperable lung cancer, and after that, about 6 months after my mother passed, one of my brothers fell and he was placed on life. And so I was going back and forth to Philly to care for him for a while. And even now, sometimes I still provide care for him for different ailments that he had back from that fall that he had. And one of the things that he's very big on is making sure that his hair is groomed. And so to be able to have something like the Cut Buddy, and, you know, Joshua and Jason, they'll tell you more about it, how it can help caregivers, how it's helping first responders, how it can help us in our homes, you know, and even the other things that they're doing, partnering to support, like the Stop Soldier Suicide.
So, Joshua, tell us about the Cut Buddy. Tell us about the product. Tell us about the business and how you guys got started.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you guys for your service, and thank you for having such a great initiative. We appreciate the chance to have a sit down on this panel. The Cut Buddy, realistically, when I first created the product, I didn't actually have caregivers and service members in mind. The product was created out of necessity. I'm from a small country in the Caribbean, and my dad was cutting my hair, and I hated his haircuts. My dad's an old school DIY guy. We come from a country where, you know, there's no Walmarts and things like that, so you kind of have to invent the solutions to problems in your life. So I just got sick of his haircuts because he really just had the buzz cut haircut, and I tried to cut my own hair as a 13-year-old, and I ended up with bald spots in my head. I got really good at wearing hats, to tell you the truth, but one thing my dad always taught me about was to be, you know, inventive and solve your problems, just like he was growing up in the Caribbean. So I started cutting up detergent bottles and pizza boxes because I realized the hardest part about a haircut was to just get a really nice curve and a sharp edge up on my hairline. So I created these templates as a teenager, and I never thought I would have something that'd be in over 1 million homes. So when I first created the product, I started doing videos, and people were kind of roasting me because my hairline was receding at the time. You know, I released the product right when Father Time was taking away my hairline, but one thing it started was somewhat of a viral traction. And from people making fun of me, it made me kind of want to give up on my business because it, you know, made me feel bad, people making fun of my hairline, it's receding or whatever. But many people saw the usefulness in the product. And right when I was ready to give up on the business because too many people were making fun of us, I got an email from a disabled veteran, and he said, I take medication and my hands shake, and because my hands shake, I could never keep my hands steady. I bought your product, and now I'm able to put it against my head and cut my hair and have a perfect haircut. And he just said, I would like to thank you for making a beautiful product because now people with disabilities can have nice haircuts too. And I think that was the moment when I realized what the mission of our business was. It wasn't me trying to make money and be this billionaire off of this hair grooming tool I invented as a teenager. It was actually to, give people confidence and self-esteem to look and feel the greatest that they can with ease. And, now I realize who my demographic was, from, the disabled veteran all the way to with the mother with 2 autistic children, the service member who's overseas and has to keep their hair, high and tight or in standard, the caregiver who's cutting people's hair at a nursery, a nursing home or at a hospital. So I realized that this was bigger than just me as a childhood invention and just trying to make money and helping people. And I can tell, I'll pass it on to Jason, because Jason can share what we're doing now and what we focus on as far as when we make our products. Basically, from that disabled veteran is the reason why we've continued the way we develop and release products. Go ahead, Jason.
So Jason,
hi everyone.
Jason, tell us about how many products does a Cut Buddy as a company have, and tell us also too, what is your business model? How did you grow the business and so on?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for that. And for sure, as Josh has said, he's done an excellent job with the company. And I joined probably about 5 years ago. And we went from that one template, which is excellent product. This changed many lives, like Josh has said, to then, we decided like, hey, this product is an awesome product. People trust in the Cut Buddy. People are fans of the Cut Buddy. Let's build this brand out. Josh has a brilliant mind. He's a brilliant inventor. And because of those cases that he's received as far as the disabled veteran or the caretakers, we start to expand on our product list. And now we're probably anywhere between like 15, we're probably around like 15 to 20 products, wow. Depending on where we are in development. And, most of the products in the company, because of those, the motivation and those stories that Josh received, is kind of built around, ergonomics and ease of use. So we like to think of ourselves as a very ergonomic company for ease to use on yourself, or if you're using it on someone else as a caregiver, ease to use on them. And so that's been kind of, what has separated us, because as Josh also mentioned, his other motivation and our motivation as we expand the company is ergonomic, ease of use, but also just like, as we said, like comfortability, which is similar, but we want to give people the confidence to be able to use the products on themselves. Right. And so that's kind of the case where he said with the disabled veteran who reached out, like he now had that confidence to be able to cut his own hair and not have to wait on someone. So it's been an awesome journey so far. We have a long way to go, but we're excited about, the future. And right now, our main sales channels, as your second question, we have obviously we have our Shopify or our direct website, thecutbuddy.com. Then we have Amazon, and then also we have had a great partnership with retailers, like Walmart and Target, and also we are starting to expand in the military stores. So you have a lot of different options as customers and consumers to find our products, whether it's cutbuddy.com, Amazon, Walmart, Target, and we're looking to expand to other retailers and on military basis.
No, Joshua, the last couple of years, I got to be honest with you, I started doing safety razors recently. And I just started getting into, even though I was in the military, I was kind of blessed. I didn't get razor bumps that bad when I was in the military. Yeah. But I knew that was a big deal. I mean, I saw brothers in the military, and it was coming out with these razor bumps because they're trying to keep it nice and tight, keep that high and tight clean. And I realized how serious of an issue that is. People come in all kinds of different types of skin type, textures, hair textures. Diversity is critical. So tell us about how you designed your products and how it addresses those issues, and particularly, how do you treat razor bumps?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you brought that up. So the company now has created products that cover the hair life cycle of all users. So I guess it was a selfish inventing motivation for myself. So I started with hair as a 13-year-old. I went bald, and now I'm completely bald. So said, wow, we gotta create a razor or a shaver or something that could cut hair. And I suffer from ingrown hairs and irritation really badly. Any of the other things that I've used, except maybe a one-blade razor, has really made me break out. So I actually partnered up with another veteran of the Marines, and he helped us invent a bald shaver called the Bald Buddy. And what we did was we created a bald shaver that's ergonomic, and it has these flex springs on the rotary shaving areas, so that when you ride it on your head, it rides the contour of your head, and you're not pushing an actual razor or forcing a movement of a clipper or any type of, foil shaver. Now that's one thing that a lot of men don't understand, is that if you don't ride the contour of your head, you're forcing something into your scalp, which initially causes the irritation. But the second part about it is, if you aren't cutting your hair in a specific way where the hair is getting cut in a flat longitudinal way, then the hairs, if you cut it with a blade, a multi-blade razor, you're cutting your hair into basically a point shape. And when you cut your hair into a point shape and it's trying to grow back through the pores of your head, it's poking into the skin in your head, and which, when it can't poke through the pore of your head, it turns around, and that's what causes that ingrown hair. And so at Bald Shavers helped a lot of men take that jump into electric shaving, which they were very afraid of initially. But what we've done is we've partnered it up with wet goods. So one thing that people don't understand as well is that you need to make sure that you exfoliate and you clean your head before you shave. Many people go in and just throw some shaving cream on and start shaving their head. That's not the right way to do it, because you're basically plowing the dirt and grime that you've had on your head back into your pores. So we focus on specific ingredients like, I'll give it away, salicylic acid is made from the willow bark tree. That's the same tree that they break down to make aspirin. So we use that as a critical piece of our ingredient. Eucalyptus, tea tree, jojoba, those are things that we focus on, so that we're soothing your hair, and then we're also healing your head at the same time. So we have a shaving cream that does that. We have aftershave spray that does that, and then we have a bald head balm, like a aftershave, like lotion, butter, that has a lot of those active ingredients in there. I think that area still needs a lot of research, but I think our shaver is a big movement in the right way. And I think that's why Walmart and Target really invested in our brand, because they realized that our shaver's getting the proper ratings to deal with irritation. The last thing I want to see is guys in the military with those shaving profiles, and they can't concentrate, and they have irritation and they can't do their job correctly. I actually just got off the phone with a customer who was in a nursing home who uses the Bald Buddy, and he didn't have a credit card, so I accepted a check over the mail. But this bald shaver is so ergonomic that it allows you to cut the back of your head with its handle very easily. I've seen so many people in nursing homes and other disabled people with dexterity issues that always end up having that little patch of hair in the back of their head because their shaver, they're blind. They're blind using a shaver, trying to cut hair in the back of their head without, multiple mirrors or stuff like that. And I had that same issue trying to cut the back of my head without the proper shaver. But our shaver with the handle takes care of that.
I'm really curious about your product, man. Now you're talking about it, because, like I said, I just got into the whole wet shave, safety razor. That's a whole movement. There's tons of websites on YouTube, and I stumbled across yours, and I started to actually subscribe today to your website, because I actually enjoy watching and learning all about that grooming technique and all the things that are going on with all the products that are out there especially as you get older and your beard starts to fill in, and if you
Yep.
shave, it's so important to learn how to properly shave, using witch hazel, for example,
Correct.
using the right razor, for example, the right shaving cream.
Correct.
You know, I think as a young kid, you kind of take these things for granted, but then you if you're in the military, you suffer through all these years of razor bumps and, you know, getting your drill sergeant, you know, kicking your butt because you're not coming down and not looking right and everything like that. You know, so I really appreciate you guys putting this time and effort to create these good, useful products for people that all across the country can use, and understanding the need for diversity in hair care and skin care. That's so critical. So, Jason, tell me about, you know, what kind of things are on the horizon? Where do you see your business growing over the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, so I think, you know, we have a lot of other products, I would say, in the pipeline. And not only just, you know, as we started off with hair tools, but as Josh mentioned, we also have, you know, just wet goods coming down the pipeline as well. So planning to really, you know, I think expand on the wet good line. We have 3 excellent wet good products at the moment, but I think expand on that. And I also think, you know, even the hair tools, where a lot of it is, you know, bald shavers and the template. We also are launching right now, which is, you know, you'll see on our website, but also launching in Walmart and Target over the next few months, is we also have a clipper and a trimmer. And they have some really awesome features to them, like some different levers, and like the clipper is like really quiet. So that kind of goes back to what Josh was saying about comfortability and ease of use, because the quietness of it, you know, it just keeps it from kind of annoying people as they're getting their hair cut and causing that just the irritating sound. So ease of use for that, and, you know, things are waterproof, so things of that nature. So just really trying to be inventive and innovative in the product space. And, you know, like I said, it's a few things on the pipeline. And then also we have plans to enter, you know, right now a lot of the products in theory in the male grooming space, but also to create some female grooming products as well, like the Bald Buddy shaver and stuff like that, where we've had experience where women have liked to use it on their legs and things like that. And so that's also, you know, opportunity that we are, you'll see we're expanding into soon.
So do you guys make the best ball shaver out there right now?
I would say yes, 100%.
Well, I'll put that to the test. I'm gonna have to pick one up because, like I said, I really do appreciate now that I'm getting a little bit older and wiser, the therapeutic nature of grooming when you're cutting your hair or shaving. I never thought I'd ever would enjoy shaving growing up as a kid, or growing up when I first started, you know, growing a beard, but it's a therapeutic point to it. I mean, getting the right shaving cream I do it the old school way. You know, getting the safety razor with the brush. You know, you got your back hair brush. You know, you got your shave soap. We got to mix it up with water and everything. Don't forget about the can. Put that stuff in the trash. Get yourself some shave soap. Do it the right way. Get some skin lotion. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, clean your beard, clean your face, scrub that stuff down, get all that oil out of there. So tell me, but one of the things I wanted to get to, Jason, you also donate your proceeds to veteran service programs and initiatives. So tell us about that and how you came up with that idea, and what kind of impact have you had doing that?
Yeah, so there's 2 portions of it, actually. And I'll touch on the donation part, and I let Josh kind of speak on his cool project. Josh spent some time last month, actually, on a military base. I'll let him talk about that. But, you know, we as we support, you know, some of if you look at our products and packaging, you'll see some camo, like cool kind of, you know, just, you know, kind of showing we support the military and like oaths to them. But, you know, we also Stop Soldier Suicide right now is the main military or veteran kind of program that we commit to. And so every year we take a portion of our proceeds. And I'll say we're not some like large company making, you know, tons of money or whatever like these bigger corporations are. We're a startup, but you know, it's important to us and we want to show our commitment. And so every year we take a portion of our proceeds, and instead of, you know, reinvesting back into the company, we donate to Stop Soldier Suicide. And, you know, and that's another thing we want to just expand on, is that relationship with, you know, charities and giving back to the military as we go forward, as we grow. We want that to grow as well. And Josh, you should talk about like the cool project you did and, you know, and supporting the military recently.
Yeah, that was actually eye-opening, because I think I needed that experience to actually understand the lifestyle on a military base. So I got a chance to go out to San Diego for Pendleton, and then Then the next day we went to March Air Base, and I actually lived on base with an Air Force officer, and it opened up my eyes only because I didn't know the whole lifestyle that was going on base, from the MCX stores to all the schooling that's actually going on, what the mother or the father is doing at home when the husband or the wife is serving during the day. So just engulfing myself into that lifestyle really allowed me to realize where we can take this company and how we can help. One thing that I'm going to make a promise to do is try to hire more veterans as we increase our, workforce. What we've already been doing is working with veterans who are inventors or current service members who are inventors to get their products to life. So 3 of our products have veteran inventors.
About 10 seconds, Joshua.
Work inside with it, but that is, it just goes to say that we're here and we're going to continue to donate and help projects with veterans for sure.
Joshua Esnar is the founder and CEO of the Cut Buddy. Jason Battle is the CFO and president of the Cut Buddy. Keisha, thank you for bringing us great guests to us today. You always bring some great people, some great products, and always help us learn more, and also the intricate details about life in the real world. I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
This is America's
Thanks for
Heroes
having
Group.
us.
Our pleasure. Thanks. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
America's Heroes Group, our Roundtable on Mental Health Matters with our partner, NAMI Contra. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 2023. March is Women's History Month. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scout Earner Productions, and also Kaya is our audio engineer today. Our partner, Gigi Crowder, is on the line. She's the executive director of NAMI Contra in California. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness and Advocacy Group, founded by family members of people with mental illness. Now, she brought us a panelist today. That's Dr. Kelley Frazier. She is the president and CEO of Village Keepers, and we're going to talk about mental health of women. That's so important. We're going to talk about that. Gigi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Our pleasure. And Dr. Kelley Frazier, how are you doing today?
Just fine, thank you.
So lead us off. Tell us about what's going on in mental health for women. I know there's a lot of things that we need to kind of go into and discuss about this issue. I know the mental health is important for women, that women suffer with it more often than men, according to what the studies show. We'll get into those numbers in a little bit. But tell us about Village Keepers, Dr. Frazier, and also tell us about what the social work around that is bringing to the table today.
Village Keepers is an umbrella organization that really takes a holistic look at the family. Often the focus is on children, and what we try to do is not only focus on children, but the whole family and the family system, internally as well as externally, to see what the impact is and what services are needed to help to stabilize families and keep them strong.
Okay, so tell us about how serious is the issue around mental health, particularly with women, because I think we don't pay enough attention to mental health, but how is it unique to women?
I think it's unique to women, in particular the way women are reared in our culture. There's an assumption that somehow women are able to cope better, able to deal better with stress, can handle more, and in particular in our African American community, the myth of the strong Black woman that is supposed to be able to stand up under whatever hardships and still bounce back and keep the family together. That is what I consider one of the major myths that causes mental illness, with people not wanting to admit that they can't handle all the things that are thrown at them.
Now, Gigi, what can you add to that to let us know more about, kind of add some color to some of the things that women deal with every day, and also how much attention do we pay or not pay enough attention to the issues around mental health for women?
Well, NAMI actually was started by two women, and when we have our groups, it's typically women who show up who are actually experiencing some symptoms based on the fact that they have children who live with mental health challenges, and then they themselves take on some of the woes, as Dr. Frazier mentioned, that actually sometimes I'm more worried about the mom who calls over a period of time when she's not able to get the support for her loved one. And I'm of the belief, I know what the statistics bear, but I'm of the belief that just as many men, because in our mental health day-to-day care, we see more males getting diagnosed with the severe mental illnesses, and it's in alignment with the myth that the women can handle it more, And so we're really doing a lot of work at NAMI Contra because we'll have all these women on the board, and then when we elect a president, it's always a male, right? So we're looking at the balance that needs to take place in order for us to see that it equally impacts males and females, and that the medications need to be tailored to meet the needs of women. Too often the medications, because more men get treated for severe mental illness and get the harsher diagnosis, and the medication regimen is much more severe, women often go off of their meds because of the symptoms associated with it. And as Dr. Frazier said, this does vary by ethnic community. Men are much more often incarcerated for living with the mental illness, but women are much more neglected. And then we start thinking about the current just released CDC report about young girls and their mental health. That's going to follow them. So we know we just got a release report from the CDC that is alarming around the stress that young girls are facing. And then, of course, when you look at any report that's across the board, you start looking at ethnic and cultural groups, and you know that their numbers are gonna be much worse than the general population. So we're paying attention to it throughout NAMI with particular support groups designed just for women.
So I have some numbers here from the Turnbridge. They're a mental health substance abuse disorder treatment program in Connecticut, and they specialize in men's health issues and also with mental health. They say that women are more vulnerable. This is also off of their website. I'm reading this from their website and cutting some things out a little bit to make it for time. Women are vulnerable to certain mental health disorders than men. Estimated about 7% of women were affected by a serious mental illness in 2020, compared with 4% of men in the U.S. when considering any other and all illnesses, including those that have not caused serious functional impairment. 26% of women struggled with any mental illness in 2020 versus 16% of men. This pattern holds true for adolescents as well. The lifetime prevalence of mental illness disorders was higher among females, 51%, than males, 48%. So we see that there's the numbers to me don't look that dramatic. Other than a couple of points in that study or that in their data that they show. However, we want to talk about what are some of the things that we need to do to address and take care of and ameliorate the problem of mental health not being addressed among women and with women across the country in general. So, Doctor, what can you tell us about that, and how do we solve this problem?
My opinion is building in family support. We typically focus in, as I mentioned earlier, on the child, not understanding or paying attention to the fact that the child has to go home, and there has to be adults there to support them. And so we can't just focus on the child. We have to focus on the whole unit, the environment that the child is going into. In particular, in Village Keepers, we're sensitive to single mothers because we know that no matter how strong the mother is or even her income, just the stress of trying to manage children when it really should be a two-parent responsibility is going to cause stress. So support for parents and families is really critical. Sometimes, the only time people get services is if they get involved in the welfare system. What I'm hoping is that we can anticipate some of the needs and begin to talk to people that are a part of the support groups that Ms. Crowder mentioned and get a sense of what their needs are and then design services around the needs that they identify.
So, Gigi, do you feel that women aren't seeking their help for mental health as much or take mental health seriously as they should?
No, I think we have just as much taboo and bias against getting support from women as we do from men. And your statistics that you spoke of earlier don't highlight the fact that men actually have a higher suicide rate than women do and always have. And so what I think is that men don't seek out the services until it's extreme. So the data that we're collecting and that keeps getting reported is that women are more prevalent. But it's based on how you're collecting the data. And so for me, us having a particular focus on women now, we've seen that men follow women into services. Once the woman gets her basic needs met, she's more able to clearly define what's going on in the family unit. And that's why we're all taking this more holistic approach, because we recognize you have the identified person, but then there's residuals for the impacted family. So if a kid has challenges, usually you can follow the pattern and know that from some point there's been a parent that has not been able to meet the child's need. Not saying that we have totally moved away from blaming the mother for why a kid has mental illness, but there is a strong genetic link, and often it comes from, a biological parent having had the mental health challenge. Moms are much more nurturers, and so they tend to seek out the supports more, especially if they have a child that's struggling. And so paying attention to the whole family unit is important, but making sure that the mom is not having more challenges because of her keeping that strong, faith around not acknowledging what's going on with her is important as well.
Always in my mind, because women oftentimes have to take care and raise a family in this country and around the world, we're seeing more and more often that women are becoming single mothers. The father is not there or not present in the household, particularly with people of color. Do you see that as adding to, as you alluded to, Doctor, some of the stress that women face because you have to balance being the breadwinner as well as being the mother, being the counselor, being the everything to everybody in the household, and then on top of that, trying to be yourself. Does that add to the stress of what we're talking about? But then, how if you're doing that every single day, do you have as a woman, do you feel like people have the time to stop and take a breath and say, wait a minute, what about my mental health?
Well, I think you defined the problem just really succinctly. Having to cope with all of those things or be vigilant, not knowing when the next crisis is going to come, will wear anyone down. And that's when I talk about the fact that we have, for instance, a single parents program where we anticipate, given the way our society is and given the way our culture has evolved in terms of the African American community, not having the supports from the males, is we anticipate that there's going to be a time, for instance, during the month or the next couple of months that maybe there won't be enough food. There may be a time when the car breaks down. There may be a time when there's a behavior problem at school and mom can't get there because she's working out of the city. Looking through that lens and identifying parents who are willing to work with us, we can put services in place that can stand in the gap when those unforeseen things come, as well as give her support ongoing, because she's, number one, opted to stay with the family, and she is trying to fill all those roles for nurturing and training and teaching that children need.
So do you feel that women, Doctor, are getting the right resources or trying to look out for the right resources to help themselves and help them cope with this? Because when you think about it, when you go through your daily everyday routine, you don't always think about, oh, I should take some time out. We are more likely to go to the gym and work out and exercise to look better, or to go to the spa and get some treatment because it feels good. But we may not think about what our emotions and what we're thinking as a mental aspect.
Well, and see, I think that's, again, you're defining the problem. And that's absolutely all of the above. And even though a woman may think about it, finding the time to carve out, to take that me time and to do the self-nurturing is the major challenge. Who's going to watch the kids when I go to the gym? Who's going to be there if I decide I want to take a mental health day off? Those are things that I believe women think about, and they talk about it, but in terms of actually putting it into practice, the circumstances of daily living can just wreck all of that and make it not be possible. And maybe not until, if you plan to do it this month, it may not happen for 2 months. And in the process, there have been other occurrences that make things even worse. So I think people think about it. I think they talk about it. But in terms of being able to make it happen, that's where the disconnect can easily come.
So, Gigi, what's the solution? What should women be doing right now?
I think it's the educational piece. I know that through COVID, we lifted up our support groups and we made sure that we were working with the faith communities, because that's where a lot of the women tended to go and prioritize their self-care. It was through their connection with their faith. So when we started having our support groups and educating people about, we've all heard of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, then people started realizing, moms and women started realizing, by prioritizing myself, I am being the best person for my husband and my children.
Yes.
That I'm going to be resentful if I don't, but they have to be taught that. They don't see it automatically because we don't talk about it enough, and we have a society that places women often in second place. Their needs come, we judge them when they decide I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going to take some time for me, and so often them understanding that taking time for them means I'm showing and demonstrating to my family, in order for me to be fully there for you, I must first take care of me.
So, Gigi, on that same note, so women are listening right now across the country, around the world, what would you tell them? They don't have necessarily the time to go to the gym or go to therapy or go to treatment, may not have the resources to do that. What can they do tonight? You know, something, a simple tip or something, some kind of behaviors or things they can do where they can carve out something in that at home, maybe before they go to bed, maybe they first wake up in the morning. You know, going to church on Sunday, I think, is definitely a positive thing that would help a lot of people out. But what else can they do in the household?
Well, you know what I'm doing right now because I can, because this is a radio show and I have a lot of things going on. I often get on the phone with my like-minded sister friends, and I'm cleaning while I'm on the telephone. We have cell phones now. We're not trapped to a landline where we can't move around. And for me, I know that some of my friends rely heavily on the opportunity to connect through phone calls and just sharing, having a safe place. Another thing we need to do is the deep breathing and meditation. So I ask individuals who can't make it to the gym, just 10 minutes prior to starting your day, take that time to think about what you want to see accomplished, but do some deep breathing. And I just did the workshop. We talked last month with Reverend Wanda Johnson, and so she had the women come up, all the mothers who lost their loved ones to gun violence at the hands of law enforcement. And I did a whole segment on decluttering. And so mentally, spiritually, and physically decluttering your space, whether it's what you see when you wake up in the morning or what you have that you're carrying in your mind. That's really important to have some clarity around what you want to do for the day. So that 10 minutes, I've already started getting feedback from some of the mothers and some of the women who attended, moms and women from across the country from various ethnic and cultural backgrounds who had that unfortunate tragedy. And I was like, thanks so much. You know, I'm breathing. I'm going deep. You know, I'm not in that flight or fright stage. So I'm able to really be more intentional, and I'm more at peace. And I said, that's all I can give to those moms who've had such a tragedy in their life, that they should be breathing deeply and physically looking at the space they're in and removing some of the stuff that causes them to be more anxious and depressed. That I achieved what I wanted to last weekend.
So, Dr. Fraser, now one of the things that your organization is trying to accomplish is trying to get health vans, in order to move into communities and offer screening and things like that. Tell us about that, and how is that progressing?
Well, we're really pleased to say it's progressing well. We on a weekly basis, we go out into the community and we provide blood pressure screening, pulse, temperature, all the signs that are not invasive, but really key to giving the patients an idea of what's going on in their bodies. And so what we found with that is that many times people may have a regular doctor, but they don't go for months because the appointments are sometimes hard to get. So being able to check in on a weekly basis or biweekly basis so that they can feel comfortable that they're doing the right things and they're on track has really been helpful. And that being said, for people who blood pressures and blood sugars and things like that are too high, we can give them feedback and advice as to what they might be able to do to modify diet, stresses, and anything that's going on in their environment that's causing that, to give them tools and information about how to modify that so things get back on track.
And how can people reach out and connect with Village Keepers in the California Contra Costa area? How do they connect to you?
We have a website. It's www.villagekeeper.com, and we also have a phone number, and that's area 925-787-4827.
Thanks for that. And then tell us more about what the future holds for Village Keepers, and also this initiative to try to bring, I like the idea of bringing health screenings and also bringing some of the care to the client, as opposed to the person having to go out and seek these things out when they don't, like we just talked about, right, when life is got going on.
Well, our future is that we find that going where the clients are is the best way. And so we've given up the whole concept of trying to get people to come to a particular office. And so we're seeking a mobile van so that we can go into the neighborhoods on particular days of the week and be right there where the people are. The other thing that we're doing at Village Keepers is we're developing a network of service providers that focus in particular on the African American community, so that there's a roadmap. Many times people don't access services because they have had past experiences that have been negative, and they didn't get the treatment that they thought they should have. And so they hesitate about going and may wait till things get too far gone before they get some help. So we're working on developing a group of network of providers in our network that we can actually do a warm handoff, that they know us, and when we make a referral for a client, they have someone to be able to ask for by name that's going to take care of them and be sensitive to their needs. The other thing that we're working with is for organizations that say they're working with the African American community. We want to be able to talk to them and find out what is their cultural competence. It's more than a checklist, and it's more than 1 hour of in-service training. We want to find out what is their sensitivity to the culture and what can they do to make the environments more welcoming, and so that people will access the services that are there.
And do you feel like you're making an impact? What can you tell us about some success stories?
Yes, I think we're making an impact, in particular with the health screenings. We've had at least 4 life-saving assessments since October.
Wow.
And so we're excited because, sometimes when you have an idea, you don't really know if it's going to be as good as you think. So on behalf of my nurses and myself, we're gratified that we are able to do some good. We can see the fruit of our labor and looking forward to continuing to serve the community.
So Gigi,
the network, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so with the network, we have at least 6 organizations that are nonprofits that are geared for services that are a part of our network. So beginning with that, we want to keep building on it, and we're looking for allies as well, and that's beginning to come together.
So Gigi, give us your final thoughts about the state of women's health care right now in general, but also particularly when it comes to mental health.
Well, we're finally paying attention to it. For a long time, we didn't carve out that space to talk about women's mental health. And so even a program like today where we're doing it highlights the attention we need. And so not just NAMI, but other organizations have started, being more intentional of carving it out and recognizing the particular focus that we should have on women, and in most cases, the women that are most harmed, who have the social determinant factors that suggest that if we don't get them help, there won't be great outcomes. Now, there's actually federal funding specific to women, and we have some local funding and more attention at local levels about how do we carve out the space to ensure that young women are not falling victim to the heart disease, the high blood pressure, breast cancer, and all of the things that highlight the health disparities, especially as it relates to mental health. More people show up in hospital settings with the underlying cause being a mental health challenge that has not been addressed than they show up with any physical ailments in the emergency room. So the attention is there now. That had not been before. We're really excited about being a part of it and partnering with people like Dr. Frazier, who has been ahead of the game and making the connection between the physical, the mental, and I'll say in her case, and the spiritual. Mm-hmm. Really important.
And what you mentioned is so critical. Like I said, I'm glad we're bringing attention to this topic. It reminds me of what's going on here in Chicago. Actually, we have an election going on for the mayoral race. And some of the candidates are actually bringing up the fact that we use our police officers as mental health specialists. We want to send a person with a gun to a house when there's a mental health issue, as opposed to sending someone who's trained like a social worker to take care of that situation. And I think it's really, and I think that's something to really need to refocus on. And I think the tide is turning where people are now getting to understand that mental health is such a critical part of your overall health.
Exactly. And, in California, we now have the Miles Hall Lifeline Act because we looked at that after the unfortunate killing of him. And so our 988 national number is actually named after Miles Hall here in California. So that was our big lift the last 2 years, and we got introduced to you all through that effort. So we appreciate the platform.
Gigi Crowder, Executive Director of NAMI Contra in California. NAMI is a National Alliance of Mental Illness and Advocacy Group founded by family members of people with mental illness, and our great panelist, Dr. Carrie Frazier. She's the President and CEO of Village Keepers. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Our pleasure. So thanks to our technical producer, Ivan, our audio engineer, Shakaya. Our stand-in producer today is Justin. He did a great job with that. We had some technical difficulties here at WVN today, but we got to understand this is radio. It's what we do for a living. It happens, man. But we got it under control, which is a different atmosphere for us, but we pushed through and persevered, and that's what we do at America's Heroes Group, and that's what we do all the time. We'll be back next week. I want to thank a couple of people we had on our show today. Thanks for RHF. Thanks for Kaya. Thanks for Justin. Thanks for Ivan. And also make sure you go to americashg.org. Americashg.org. That is where our website is, and that's where you can get information about all the things we're doing and leave us feedback. You want to reach out to us by phone. That's 312-803-2618. Check out our archive on YouTube. Plenty of videos out there. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also share your thoughts so we can get to you the information, resources, and referrals that you deserve as a veteran community and all the people that we care about that serve this country. This is America's Heroes Group. God bless. We'll be back next week.